Do you remember this Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist named Darren Bell? This was one of his pieces of work, such a great piece. It's him illustrating President Trump grabbing or about to grab the groin area of Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty. And, of course, he's leering and he's orange and he's literally Hitler. And Lady Liberty, angry, looking side-eyed at him, says, "Don't even think about it." Raw egg nationalists drew attention to this back in the day. Darren Bell was, of course, wagging around his morality because he would never do anything like that. Now, let's remember something, please, about that Billy Bush tape. It was awful. If you heard a man say that about a business your daughter was in, you'd be furious. If you heard a basketball coach say that about college athletes, you'd want his head. And if your daughter was on that team, you'd probably go take his head, right? Let's be honest, it was a horrible thing that Donald Trump said at the time. And I've heard the excuses. It was locker room talk. It was boasting. Maybe it was. Doesn't mean President Trump's guilty of having done that. There's been efforts in court to make him guilty. The E. Jean Carroll case comes to mind, which is a laughable case. The E. Jean Carroll case, of course, never should have made it to court. So not to relitigate that, but to litigate this. The left is famous for accusing the other side of that which themselves are doing. I mean, that was a Saul Alinsky technique. But there's something much more nefarious about this cartoonist and what he's accused of doing, and it goes to the heart of what I think leftism is. Remember this about Teddy Kennedy? The likely, well, not but responsible for the death of the young girl in the famous crash in Nantucket Bay. Chappaquiddick. Remember that? Teddy Kennedy, the guy who had a waitress sandwich with Chris Dodd, a former senator, where they grabbed the young woman who was serving them in a Washington, D.C. bar-eatery, and one of the men pulled her down in his lap, and the other jumped on top of her, and they were having themselves a fun waitress sandwich. Remember that? I heard women say that they would vote for Teddy Kennedy time and again, even if he was because of his stance on abortion. I had a friend of mine say that, a liberal woman who lives in New York. I would vote for any candidate over any Republican, even if because of abortion. So there's something about the left and the covering of these crimes because their intent is so good. Their intent. Rush Limbaugh used to talk about the seriousness of the charge versus the sincerity of the intent. God rest the Maha. So I'll take you through what this guy's accused of doing here in a second, and you can guess probably it has to do with sexual corruption. Sexual corruption becomes easier and easier and easier the more money and power you have, because money and power put together are really, really toxic. You know this from observing our government. You might know this from observing friends who've come into a lot of money. So it's important that money be stewarded in a wise way. And we right now are headed into a time of unbelievable conflict. The shiny-shoed Republicans, the professional Republicans right now are trying to kneecap the man that President Trump has wanted to be in charge of the Budget Committee in the House, the Budget Committee chairman, Representative Arrington. He wants actual budget cuts, like real ones, not pretend, not a decrease in the growth of increase. He wants actual budget cuts. And they're kneecapping him with secret talks with the press. Meanwhile, President Trump is talking about historic moves for energy independence to bring our country back into homeostasis from a budget perspective. This could be great for your retirement portfolio if you're 5, 10, even 15 years out. It could be catastrophic if you are not positioned to take advantage of it. My friend Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer of Bulwark Capital Management, is doing his first free live webinar of the year right after the inauguration. It's coming up January 30th. It's free, but you have to register to attend. Zach will talk through the new administration and how it might impact retirement portfolios. He'll talk about the current state of the market and an outlook for 2025. And he'll do a full reveal of how Bulwark is always looking for opportunities to lower risk, lower costs, and give your retirement much more possible upside. It is free, but you have to register to attend. So go right now to knowyourriskradio.com. That's knowyourriskradio.com and register for the free live webinar Thursday, January 30th. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek, 25-103. This cartoonist, and this according to Yahoo News, has been arrested on charges of having 134 videos deemed material. This comes from the sheriff's office. The investigation began when detectives fielded a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that someone was uploading 18 files of child abuse, the sheriff's office said. Bell is being charged under a new California law, which went into effect on January 1st, that criminalizes possessing artificial intelligence-generated child material, marking the first arrest under the law by detectives who focus on internet crimes against children, the sheriff's office said. He was being held on a $1 million bail. A woman who identified herself as Bell's wife said Thursday afternoon in a brief television interview, "Please pray for me and my children." She declined further comment. It's a good thing to ask for. And I do ask for spiritual protection over her children, that the Lord would use this as an opportunity to move that family closer to him and to understand how gravely fallen this world is. Now, if these are all AI generated, and in further coverage I've read, that's in doubt. Some of them appear to be real. But let's say they were all AI generated. No victim, no crime. He should walk free, right? Victimizes just about everybody involved. It is addictive to men. It can be addictive to women. It blunts the natural interaction, sex that God gave us as a gift, blunts it to the point where sometimes people, mostly men, cannot enjoy normal sexual contact. They can't enjoy it, and sometimes they can't engage in it because it's not extreme enough. Addictions always need more. No addiction stays at the same place. It's not uncommon for drug addicts who've been through a period of being away from the drugs, who've been off the drugs, say for 2 or 3 years, to relapse. What's so dangerous about their relapses is they will go back and take the dosage of drug they were taking on a regular basis, thinking they can just do that again. It's like you or me not having been in the gym for a couple of years and trying to go squat a 1 rep max. We're going to kill ourselves. In that case, now with you take time away from it, you're not going to die if you come back and you look at it. But when you build up to a point where your addiction has become so extreme, the algorithms know this. They're going to continue to feed you more and more extreme things. So suddenly you'll find men who say, "Oh yeah, I'm just curious. I'm just going to see what these same-sex attracted videos are like." Then it's going to be, "Well, I'll just look at this like it's simulated sex. It's not real." Plus, it's amateur, and they'd never do that to themselves. Suddenly, you're watching an actual of someone kidnapped in a hotel room in some city somewhere, and they don't know where they're at. That's what you're getting off on. Now, that's one end of the victimization. The other end of the victimization is this. The AI-generated drives an appetite for men to want to do that to children, and there is a market for that. A market all too often these days driven by commercial surrogacy, which is becoming easier and easier and easier to document, as my friend Katie Faust has. The women in that business, you think that's fun? We'll talk later this week about the actual realities of that business. Just take this, for instance. Have you ever been involved in a video shoot? I mean, a real video shoot, and how many different times you take the same line and the same angle? Can we walk through that again? Hey, let's try the lighting this way. Actually, can we have him stand on this side and you on this side? You know what? That's not a great shirt. Let's try this, and we want to change the background a little bit. Hey, your hands were in the shot. Could you now just take that into the world? Can we have you shift a little bit and change positions, but pretend you like it? It victimizes everybody it touches. So on the political front of this, here's a guy who is apparently doing the worst, pointing at President Trump for saying a bad thing. See, the left excuses this because, after all, this guy was stopping Trump. I couldn't believe it when my friend, who's a dear friend, said to me she would vote for Kennedy even if it was proven he had assaulted women his entire life because of his votes on abortion. Such is a fallen world.